to have grandsons and granddaughters, you know, our level of growth is very, very good. So allow me that we welcome her to take us through this very, very important and pertinent topic by measuring one big clap. So you'll measure first. You also take into consideration that we should expand. We should expand, then turn it over.
I hope so.
Then eka moja. Karibu, madam.
Where do I start? Do I have a right of response to what he has done to me? Or should I turn the other cheek? I think he's right in a way. Most of the things he said are true. I'm happily married to one man. It should be something that we are proud of in this age and era. I'm also happy that he acknowledges the fact that some of you can come on time and still keep time, even in the other engagements that were holding you. And I asked him a very serious question and said, do they behave like NEC, which says 8 and it is 8? So he said, yes, they do. So clap for yourself. He has painted another side of NEC that I don't know if you know what NEC does, so I will have to spend some time explaining what NEC does in terms of monitoring the quality of education systems and how Kenya compares to other education systems. So you're in for a long ride. You better settle well in your seat. Make sure you have a smiling neighbor. If you don't, I can allow you to change seats. Which group do I call out so that you look like you're going out and then come back and sit on a different seat altogether? I came with one of you. One of you who is one of us. One of you who has helped me navigate a lot in preparing for this presentation. She might not know it, but I really appreciate the efforts she's put in a short while to make me understand this work. The Pilgrim Way. Your pilgrims of hope. Good. She explained to me all about it that I had to actually listen to the bull indiction. Do you know what it is? Oh, I'm walking alone on this walk now, yeah? The bull indiction, if you go on YouTube and just check on the Pilgrim of Hope and what the Pope said, it will pop out. It had to be, I had to listen to it to understand how to address you. Not because I don't know how to address you. I was in boarding school since class 4, thanks to the Catholic Church institutions. In class 4, I joined boarding. I did my class 8 at Musoli Primary. Anybody from near Musoli Primary here? Yes, be proud of yourself. After which, you have good institutions that transit to secondary level. I joined Mukumu Girls. So you can still clap for yourselves for those kind of efforts. And I can assure you that in the institution, Kenya National Examinations Council, right now as I speak, there are 8 former Mukumu girls. I don't want to count other Catholic institutions. But if you look at the probability of 8 former Mukumu girls working at a national organization like Kenya National Examinations Council, it tells you about the way in which you handle the learners that go through your hands. So clap for yourselves, because that's an evaluation I decided I should give you and many others that I may have an opportunity to talk to. So I want us to enhance assessment to make sure that we are aware of competency-based education issues, so that when we are dealing with those that we've been given charge of, we have a good understanding. For purposes of this presentation, I will allow you to write your questions whenever you'll have them, as soon as the question forms in your head. You could ask it, or you could pass it on later for purposes of my response to help you understand better competency-based education. Why is it important to know your learner? Because from now, there's nothing much that matters apart from making sure that we nurture every learner's potential. From the basic education curriculum framework, we must know who are these learners that we are dealing with. Some of them will be doing the assessments in the age-based pathway. Some will be doing in the stage-based pathway. And we must understand how to make sure that we progress these learners effectively. We need to measure their knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And now I have to be very, very frank with you that that is the hardest thing to do. Most Catholic institutions have hospitals next to them. And I will use the examples from a hospital setting so that it sinks in when we are talking about measurement and evaluation and how to measure effectively the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of children to make sure they choose the correct pathway, to make sure they do things that are passionable to them, to keep them motivated in life, and to live a fulfilling life to the fullest of their potential. Now, knowing all these aspects starts from a point where the learners, of course, have learning gaps. And those learning gaps can be identified by us through the guidance we give to the teachers. As heads of institutions, there are documents, various documents that we can share with the teachers, the knowledge we are gaining here, we can share with the teachers to make sure that they actually nurture that learner's potential in a good way. So we have a critical question at hand, and it is any of the learners being left behind? And I was glad to attend to the first session that we had on special needs. I have a background in special needs. I should add the Catholic part. I taught in St. Angela School for the Deaf, Mumias, for 12 years in English and literature to deaf children using sign language. So those are some of the challenges our children are going through that we must make sure they get onboarded and not left behind, to make sure we nurture that potential that they do have. Now, that is our responsibility. And if it is our responsibility, we have a way in which we have to agree to walk on this journey together as pilgrims of hope. Assessments can be very tense moments for students. They can be fear. Even now, if I just said, I am assigning each and every one of you an index number according to how you registered, and I am going to give an assessment now, please bring back the papers so that I can write the number that was when you registered, all of you will freak. You will forget the number when you registered. How many of you remember the number you registered on the list out there? But you registered, isn't it? But you've forgotten, and you are in a different situation now. And someone is gauging your knowledge, gauging to understand if you can remember something that you did during the day-to-day, or learned 6 years in your course, or learned 2 months down the line. So assessments come with a very, very a fear that makes the students even have an anxiety. And we see it sometimes when we give assessments. But we would like to dissolve this mind. We would like to communicate ways that we can be able to work with these children with hope that it is not a matter of life and death. And we tell them, when you go to hospital, don't you first visit a room where someone checks your temperature, where someone checks your pressure, where someone checks your heartbeat and the oxygen saturation in your body? They use different tools to check different things. But all that information is sent to the doctor whom you're going to see so that they can understand where to start in treating you. Or before they can ask you questions like, sasa unasikia maumivu wapi? He already knows your temperature, he already knows your different kind of body symptoms that you have presented in the first room. Assessment is like that. Now, we collect different types of information so that we can bring our school system into the 21st century. Bringing a school system into the 21st century is not easy. I see that sometimes we forget that we are educating for an economy. Educating for an economy calls for you to check what does the industry need and what can we do in terms of knowledge, skills, attitudes to ensure that the industry is fed with the correct people, to make sure that there is an economy that is running of this country. How are these people? Can they solve problems? Can they be able to find and manage information? Can they be able to collaborate in a team? And I will give you examples of how 21st century roles call for a lot of collaboration. If you're familiar with CBC, I have mentioned just 3 of the core competencies: communication and collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving, being able to have digital information or learning to learn by finding and managing information. Now, we do that through assessment. How do we do it? We make sure that we give school-based assessments at grade 4, grade 5, grade 7, grade 8, so that learners are given an opportunity to showcase their own potential and at the same time information to make sure that they work in groups to enable them to collaborate and bring out that core competency of communication and collaboration. Why is it important? Let's look at a doctor in the 21st century. A doctor in the 21st century will be in a hospital called Mater Hospital, consulting through a conference facility, which is like this one, put up a screen, put up in the operation room, communicating to another doctor in Italy on how to solve the problem of that patient whose stomach they have opened. Now, those are things that were not available during the 19th century, the 20th century, but they are very available in the 21st century. Now, how do I assess this doctor that is Mater to have communication and collaboration skills so as to be a good doctor in the 21st century, to work with that one who is in Italy, who also has communication and collaboration skills, that they may save this life that is at the operating table? That's a good example that we need to think about, the doctors we need to be creating in the coming years. There is an architect who needs to build houses in the 21st century. We have heard of climate change. How is it going to affect the field of architecture? And we as the Catholic institutions build a lot of institutions. Will they be flooding? Climate change issues are happening right now. If you open your TV, you will see many issues that are there of flooding in different parts of the world. How do we make the architect aware that if winter came to Africa, our houses cannot withstand the cold and we shall die in numbers, and that they should build houses that can be able to withstand the changes in weather as we see them? So those are the things that we need to be thinking as we continue to help these people to focus on what is in the competency-based curriculum, to implement the issues that we have foreseen coming in the near future. Those are some of just the examples that we need to be thinking about. Now let us come home and discuss what we usually call competency-based education. I know you're seeing that maybe and you're wondering, has she forgotten it is competency-based curriculum? Let me show you where CBC comes in when we talk about the competency-based education. Now this is a triangle that I will use twice. Firstly, I will use this one to explain the connection between different aspects of the competency-based education. Then I will break it down when we come to the competency-based assessment. Now, competency-based education has three aspects. The first one is a curriculum that we have prescribed. We have said, we want these core competencies to be taught. We want these core values to be taught. We want these pertinent and contemporary issues to be taught. We have packaged it according to grades, grade 1 up to grade 12. Some are still being processed. And that becomes, the prescribed curriculum becomes what we call CBC. So when I hear a parent coming into your school asking you, hii CBC lazima itolewe, open the basic education curriculum framework and ask them, of the core competencies that are in this CBC, which one don't you want your child to learn? Hata wewe tu kama mzazi kama uko hapa, and some of you might be, ask yourself, if CBC is bad, which are the 7 or 6 values or 8 values that which one do you want your child not to have? And then you will have a meaningful conversation. Now, the competency-based curriculum gives birth to a competency-based learning, which is what you manage. You are the implementers of the competency-based curriculum, and therefore, you do competency-based learning environments. In that environment, you pick the prescribed curriculum, you start exposing the child to the learning experiences that have been described there. The child might not experience the whole experiences that are described in the curriculum, but you can be able to make sure they meet people, meet resource persons, they can go out for tours, they can be able to meet in groups, they can be able to do assessments, they can do different activities as described and prescribed in the curriculum. So you have a big role to play at the competency-based learning point. Your institution should be a place that ensures there is competency-based learning. Why do you do that? Because you are a pilgrim of hope, giving this world hope, making sure that we have the manpower and the skill that will sustain humanity past the 21st century. Have you understood that part? Have you told yourself, I have a role to play in this pilgrim journey? Touch your heart. Give it to kidogo, if you still have it. Those whose hearts have stopped, calmly stand up for a few minutes. The circulation will come back to your blood. Tell them, I have a role to play as a pilgrim of hope in making sure the 21st century has hope for humanity. You've promised me a big thing, and 3/4 of what you promised lies in your hands. Now let's look at how that transforms to what NEC does. So we have competency-based assessment, which is CBA. Competency-based assessment comes in to check. You had a prescribed curriculum, you had an experienced curriculum in your school, but we want to check what have you achieved so that we can give feedback to the prescription that was given before and back into the curriculum that was there. We have a role to play as Kenya National Examinations Council, and it is to check the knowledge, skills, attitudes of these learners so as to tell the curriculum, hey, on social studies, you reached this point a little bit higher than grade 6. Please make it for grade 8. They are not understanding at grade 6. We also have a role to play in telling the curriculum, we have forgotten to talk about this value right from grade 3 up to grade 5. It is not fair. We need to be building this value. You get our point? That is the point we need your collaboration on. How do we need your collaboration? We need your collaboration in making sure the tools that Kenya National Examinations Council uses to measure what has been achieved are not interfered with. That means you cannot give the wrong measure, the right measure, and you influence the result because you will misguide the curriculum, the pathway this child chooses, and the experiences that this child has, ending up into someone who has knowledge, skills, attitudes, but in the wrong pathway. Are you helping the 21st century manpower? No. And it is a role we can be able to help as we work with the Kenya National Examinations Council. You are heads of institutions, and we use you a lot in the processes of the Kenya National Examinations Council. So that is important. Now let me explain the role that Kenya National Examinations Council plays with this new triangle. The Kenya National Examinations Council, in any assessment, uses 3 aspects that guide that assessment. We have a purpose for any assessment. If I want to check how much information you know, I will use a tool that you will answer a few questions, and then I'll know you understand 3/4 way or halfway, and therefore I start from teaching you from a specific point. That is a diagnostic tool. Just like if I want to check your temperature, I will use a thermometer. I will not use a stethoscope because it will give me a wrong measure on what you are. So now, if the purpose is to diagnose your levels of learning, the teacher is the best placed person to make that tool. The teacher comes to class and teaches and covers curriculum content. And it is possible for the teacher to set questions based on what they have taught so that this learner can give him the feedback on where to start, what to correct, and what to remediate. When you buy an exam from a cyber to come and give that student as a diagnostic tool, you have interfered with the measure. Are you getting the point? Remind yourself, I am a pilgrim of hope. So I will not take a stick from a tree out there and come and measure someone's temperature with it. Tumeelewana? It is equivalent to doing that. There is a tool and that serves a specific purpose in CBA, in competency-based assessment. Now, that tool is given in a certain way, in modes, and a tool means different things. It could be a questionnaire, it could be an oral quiz, it could be a question and answer session in a classroom. It should be used effectively in the classroom teaching so that it can help you get the feedback, and then we report using that tool. Now, which one of you has ever gone to a hospital, and one of the tools the hospital uses to measure your temperature is a thermometer? You've gone there and stolen that thermometer. Is there anyone here who has stolen a thermometer? How come you respect the thermometer very much, and it only measures temperature? And that which measures the brain, the heart, your attitude, you steal it very easily, an exam. Mbona mwendangi kwa hizo hospitals next to your institutions and steal thermometers from them? Why steal something that wants to tell you about someone's knowledge, attitude? It will give you wrong information. You get the point? And you will have forever failed a whole generation and humanity. Today, we are demolishing a house in Mombasa. What went wrong? Any guess? Chorus answers are allowed. You can behave like popcorn. Joto ikizidi lipuka. That is the principle. Anything inakuuma. What do you think went wrong with that situation? One, poor workmanship. Who gives the workmanship? The education system, isn't it? Who certified those guys to be masons? Kenya National Examinations Council, isn't it? Who presented those candidates to Kenya National Examinations Council? Heads of institutions, isn't it? Who stole the thermometer? We don't know. Is there anyone here who knows that people steal thermometers? No, we don't. We don't know. But we have to demolish a house. So that speaks volumes about the workmanship we want to see. You do a lot of buildings. There is what we call a finish that is nice. You even look at someone's portfolio and say, I want to see the work you have done elsewhere to be able to give you this work. Sindio? Do you do that? A tailor comes and says, bebu nionyeshe nguo zenye wewe umeshona kwanza. Sitaki ushone nguo alafu nikatae kutumia. The Catholic sisters have specific tailors because of the workmanship. Ama mmesahau kwamba you put on clothes that are very crisp. I've been in Catholic all my life. And it is the workmanship that keeps you buying the clothes from where you buy. How good are we making sure that our students concentrate until they get that fine product through practice, that their workmanship does not fail us? Mnaelewa? That is the 21st century person that we are looking at. So we have different objectives that we must look at when we are doing competency-based assessment. We have methodologies that we must embrace, different from how we used to do assessments. Language teachers nowadays tell you, we have a lot of work under CBA. Lazima tufanye listening and speaking. Lazima tufanye comprehension tofauti. Lazima tufanye. So I say, this doctor is being prepared, and they have to communicate with the one in Italy. Should they be listening and speaking to each other? Should they? Now, do you see the importance of having to nurture that potential in any child so that in whatever they do, even an architect must visit a site every time to make sure that he communicates any changes that he sees, communicates them effectively to rectify any situation. If that architect had visited that site, is there something that could have been done differently? Communication and collaboration. Tunaelewana? So there are things we must do. We must provide feedback to the students, and we must provide it in a timely manner. If right now I remind you of a problem of what you did in grade 4, and you're here seated as a head of institution, it is too late. You cannot be able to correct it. But if I tell you 2 days after you've made the mistake, you've handed in your composition book, you will be able to remember and to rectify the mistake that you have done. We are hoping to integrate as much ICT as possible, because the 21st century child is going to be a dependent on ICT. Right now, allow me to say this, there is war in the world. That's not the best thing that should be happening in the world. There is war. As pilgrims of hope, we need to see how to avoid war in the world. Part of it are comments made by one president to another president. They get annoyed with each other. They bring tariffs. That's still a war. Some physically go and they don't know. So we do have, okay. Okay. So we do have war right now, which we need to be praying against, hoping that there is hope. The children we bring up have values. The Kenyan education system is one of the very few education systems that have values in their education system. Most of the countries do not have values. They have removed religion from even being practiced. That's something that we cannot accept as a country. And we have prioritized the values. Now, that gives us a unique position in this continent. I compare education systems. And I can tell you what is ailing the Americas, what is ailing Europe, what is ailing Asia, both South Asia and the other Asia that you know. I can tell you for free. Apart from God's protection on Israel, there is a lot of ICT and technology that is keeping Israel safe. Anybody in this room who has not known what is keeping Israel safe, apart from God, please find out. It's technology. Right now, I was telling my husband yesterday, we are happily married, by the way. So I was telling my husband yesterday, why can't the people in Mombasa demolish the house the way Israel does it? The other side. Technology, a drone. Only a drone, a small thing like this, is sent. And it is the one that will deal with that issue. No man born of woman will be seen around there demolishing a house. Wisdom that comes from God. God-given wisdom that we are supposed to nurture through values and through other things that we do in our institutions. So assessing core competencies like critical thinking and problem solving, looking at different ways in which we can do imagination, there's so much that there are many jobs that will be in the 21st century that even our own curriculum has not thought about. NEC has not thought about on how to certify these people. And the children or learners that you will be getting will be the ones doing these jobs. If you're in junior school, you're getting a new breed of teachers. Those people are loud. Those people are agile. Those people are very different from the way we were when we were going through our education system. They think on the phone. They speak as they think on the phone. We must help them to understand that there are limitations so that wars don't erupt in our own institutions like they are erupting in the world. The values they never went through, because our highest cohort right now of instilling these values more consistently is at grade 9. We have to support those who are at a gap and coming to work in our institutions. Now we have to assess how they are. We have to embrace community service learning, and an example was given on how companies such as those who are in charge of guards can be invited to schools. We cannot provide everything in the education sector, but we have to make collaborations with the industry so as to ensure what we assess on paper is practically possible also. If we are in charge of vocational training and pre-vocational course studies, we should embrace what it is that the 21st century is expecting to be able to move forward. How can we do it? We have a structured way in which formative assessment is being done and summative assessment is being done. Now, all these you know from your CBA training. Which aspects, I want to emphasize two different aspects. The summative and the school-based assessments. Summative assessments, right now we do have CaPEIA. But before CaPEIA comes in, we have MLP, which is CaPEIA, at grade 3. It serves a very different purpose from what the student is doing at grade 4. At grade 3, we are checking from PP1 to grade 3, how is Kenya's lower primary education, or how is Kenya's early years of education? Are we giving the children a good foundation? Or are we shaking the foundation, giving them just ile ya dakika mbili kwa class unatoka unaenda? Are you giving the children the correct foundation? So it serves the purpose of informing policymakers like myself and you on what to correct to make sure that our children have a good early years education. The roots, if the roots are not strong, if the foundation is not strong, the rest of the things that you put on will be having a problem. So that's the purpose of monitoring learner progress, or CaPEIA, that we do at grade 3. Kenya does languages, mathematics, and a course that is called Integrated Learning Assessments. I know you say Integrated Learning Area, but it's Integrated Learning Assessment. We check your science, your knowledge in science, your knowledge in maths, your knowledge in, not maths, social studies, your knowledge in environmental studies, knowledge of Kiswahili here, sign language here if you're a sign language user. You get the point? That helps us to be able to correct course at grade 3. There is what we call SDG 4, 4.1.1A. All the countries on the globe must account for their lower primary education. So Kenya does this to be able to report on how is our foundation at Enda Primary. In some schools, the strongest teachers are the ones at lower primary. In some schools, the weakest, retiring, almost going home teachers are the ones in lower primary. The choice is yours. Reflect on how you are a pilgrim of hope in this journey of creating a foundation that is firm for the children under your charge. Go back, look, whom have I put at the gate to guard? Have you taken the weakest soldiers and put them at the gate? It's for you to analyze yourself. Mi sijui mmeweka nani grade 1, 2, 3, lakini nyinyi wenyewe mnaelewa. Then we do grade 4. We introduce the school-based assessment. Now let me redefine for you what school-based assessment's purpose is. When we do CaPEIA, we only do multiple choice questions. But in school-based assessments, we have projects, we have a larger 75% coverage of the syllabus is in school-based assessments. We sample very many different topics that we can be able to check the understanding of the learner on these topics. Now, when we do so, we give a project, maybe for some subjects, because it will call for different ideas being looked at, creativity coming out in that learner, communication and collaboration coming out if it calls for it. We ask that the teachers give us a true reflection of the abilities of these learners. You have stayed with this learner from early primary, now you're at grade 4, 5. If the teacher under your charge gives a wrong impression, NEC will never tell. But he who will employ that child will know that there was a problem. He who will be treated by that child in your hospitals will know that there's a problem. Because someone gave the wrong SBA score. Now, the records of any school-based assessment have to be in the institution for at least 5 years for any cohort, so that should there be an issue at the summative time when we are compiling and the student says, hey, I don't think this is the correct thing, we can come back and cross-check in your institution. Whom have you put in charge of managing the professional records for school-based assessments? Are they in someone's computer? And the day it will crash, those are lives that should be given hopes. Those are records that will stand as testimony on the abilities of these children. We must treat them with the respect that they deserve. Do you know where these records are kept? If I asked you, 2020, when we started SBA, give me grade 4 of 2020. Do you know where that file is? Head of institution, please go back and put your house in order. God has given you the grace to put your house in order. Sawa sawa? As we move to grade 5, grade 6, we do not give SBA. We now give a shorter thing that NEC has control over. You have had grade 4, you have had grade 5 to give us an opinion about this child. But now we want to check it in a different way, using a different tool for a different purpose. Allow me to use this to expound on 3 things. CaPEIA. CaPEIA is reported in 3 ways. Which 3 ways? Anybody who has had a school that has had CaPEIA? In which 3 ways does NEC report CaPEIA? You're doubting whether you did CaPEIA in your school. You're wondering what CaPEIA is. You're worried that I will pick you up to answer the question. All that is showing on your faces. But let me break it down. CaPEIA is reported in 3 ways. The individual learner's report. Mnaijua hiyo? That one is generated as soon as we can in January. That individual learner's report, you are in charge of printing it, rubber stamping it, and giving it as a communication on the learner's abilities so that they can transit from grade 6 to grade 7. Purpose. It serves a purpose. Now, the grade 6 teachers, do they ever sit with the grade 7 teachers to discuss that transition? Nurturing every learner's potential. If I have shown this potential at grade 6, and the teacher who did SBA grade 4, grade 5, is in the same school, maybe, as the one who is taking me in grade 7, who is best placed to tell me about that learner? The teacher who was in grade 6 should be able to sit with the English teacher who is taking over grade 7 and say, this class has 30 students. Most of them, when I have looked at CaPEIA, they are scoring at meeting expectation or below expectation. We need to investigate why they are at below expectation. 2 English teachers talking, the one in grade 6 and the one in grade 7. And then they ask each other, where will we get this information about which questions they are not doing correctly in my school? NEC has gone the extra mile to make sure that each school has the second reporting called the school-specific reporting. So school A, you will get all the students who did English. Those who got in English question number 1 correctly, we give you the percentage. Those who got it wrongly, we give you the percentage. Anybody who gets a percentage of those who scored correctly to be less than 30% in that school, we highlight it as a learning gap. That in this school, Most of the students in question 1, they did not get this question correctly. Sit with that English teacher and ask this each other. Is it the educational materials that are not available? As an English panel, is it me as the English teacher maybe who is making the students not get it right? Can we do team teaching? You also come and explain this topic to them so that we see whether we can make sure we improve our learning outcomes. How do we support grade 7 teacher? As you start with these students in grade 7, remember to do remedial on these questions that were scoring below 30% in our school. Is the tool available in the school? Yes. Who has access to the tool? The head of institution. Do your teachers use that tool? The answer is in your mouth. Who is failing CBC? Who is making sure we don't nurture every learner's potential? Are these things that can happen in your school environment? Is it too much to ask? Those are the questions. I pray you do not sleep tonight. You keep listening to them until you say to yourself, I am a pilgrim of hope. Until you tell yourself, I must contribute to the 21st century manpower in a way that will be effective. All that you hear about CBC is based on theories. And those theories inform the principles that guide CBC. The principles that guide CBC are visual, and they are usually in each and every presentation that we make. I have talked about some of them in ways that they look like jokes, but actually it is a principle of assessment. Like when I say, make sure that you're making sure that the learners are not stealing the thermometer or yourself enhancing the thermometer to be stolen, leaving it anywhere so that they steal it so that they can show you're performing very well. Don't leave the thermometer anywhere. Make sure you protect the thermometer, the exam, or the assessment. So that flexibility in doing assessment of school-based assessment, the school makes its own timetable. That is a principle of assessment. Sufficiency, how much information goes into your assessment? I have the best moderator. I have the best moderator. And because I have the best moderator, I'm encouraged to go on. I'm a pilgrim of hope. And I'm hoping that the next session I ever have, I will still have the same moderator. And I'm excited that we are discussing the aspects that make for the principles of competency-based assessment. Now, we've seen accessibility, and the special needs team has looked at it very well. So I will not delve on accessibility. But leaving no learner behind means, as we do assessments, we must make accommodations that allow for those with persons with disability within that classroom are showing their potential so that we can nurture it. So the tool is the one that has to give us the things that we need to get. You can imagine if you went to a class, you did a test. The way in which we used to do it long time ago, the teacher would say, write a composition about the day that I went to the market with my mother, as the beginning sentence. You write the composition very well, they collect the books. The books will come back at the end of the term. Timely feedback. Feedback is only useful when it is given at a time when it can be used. So the way in which we treat feedback, it should be in a timely manner. Do not allow or have a principle or rather have a rule in your school that no homework should take more than 2 days to go back to that learner. The school-based assessments that we do, let them be points of discussions with parents. Engage, empower parents so that they can be engaged in nurturing the potential of these learners. Look at the school-specific reports that are sent by the Kenya National Examinations Council. Walk with it confidently to the Board of Management meeting and tell the board members, I have discovered that in this school, science is not doing as well as we should be doing. And we have looked at the school-specific reports from Kenya National Examinations Council, and we realized that for these topics to be taught well, we need these and these instructional materials to visualize these science concepts. We need videos children to watch about these science concepts so that they can conceptualize and give us the correct outcomes that we want. What tells you that the board will not accept on the ideas that you're talking about? You have evidence from Kenya National Examinations Council. School, we don't compare schools. We compare your school to the national mean. So what you get is tailored to your school. So you don't say, in the diocese, no, your school, you have a personal responsibility to make sure that you change that. I always use this example. Children never walk out of your school with the big gate. They will never walk out of your school with the big bus. They will walk out of the school with knowledge, skills, attitudes that will equip them in the future. Some of them even burn all their books in the school compound. They walk out pocketing with their mobile phone. But the knowledge, skills, and attitudes remain with them in any war that they get to face ahead. That is our war. That is our hope, that we instill the correct knowledge, the correct skills, and the correct attitudes to make sure that they are ready for the 21st century. Now, currency means you do not bring the school-specific report of 2022 into the board meeting. You bring the one of 2025. No, we have not done the 2025 one. 2024. You go and download the correct one so that you're using the most current information to engage the school, the subject panels, and ask them and charge them and tell them, I need you to analyze this report as a subject panel and tell me, what do we need to do to improve science? What do we need to do to improve English? What do we need to do to improve maths? So that everything happens in the correct way. Now, sufficiency and authenticity, you have already seen how we use examples of things that are in the environment of the children, things that we ask you to help in improvisation. Do not blot the cost of assessment, but make sure that locally available materials are the ones used to make sure that the students and the parents do not strain. Now, when we nurture every child's potential, we make sure that the teacher's capacity is also built. The retooling of the teachers is important. I know private institutions lag behind. And that is a good thing that you're gathered here for a purpose. A purpose that retools you, makes you rethink, makes you to get strengthened for this journey. Any pilgrim will tell you, you must pack according to the journey ahead of you. Any pilgrim will tell you that. Especially a pilgrim of hope. They will tell you that. The journey between me and the destination has to be calibrated with brakes, has to be calibrated with strength, has to be calibrated with rethinking and retooling to be enable me to make a contribution to this journey. Make sure that you inform learners of the expectations of CBC. They will in turn light a fire in their parent. We still have to manage some of the expectations of parents. There are still parents in this century who still believe that certain professions are better than others. I'm a teacher by profession, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking to people. Even when I'm not talking good things, I still enjoy talking to people. So I am a people person. I easily appreciate the humor of the moderator, because he comes from a point of a clean heart, and he just wants to make you laugh and happy. So some of us are like that, but some of you are very difficult. Okay, you've responded very well. So I will leave that journey for you to be able to walk alone of being difficult. So we have markers on this journey. How many doors do we have to holiness? But I'm talking to people who have not listened to the bullying diction. Please listen to that. One of the key things we do when we are doing interviews is to check whether the candidate knows the employer. If your employer be the Catholic Church, you cannot be seated here in April having not listened to the bullying diction that was released in December. That's a personal decision you can make. A pilgrim of hope. I wish I could play it, but maybe we'll get time and we play it for purposes of those who cannot access. So we are planning as heads of institutions on instruction time. But we are in schools that are headed by the sponsor. I am very proud of the Catholic Church. Personally, not Kenya National Examinations Council, personally, I am very happy with the Catholic Church for two things. One, you do not steal on the students' time in class to have funeral arrangements being done in the school compound. Do you understand that? It is very important that if a curriculum is supposed to be covered in 1 year, it be covered in 1 year. If 6 lessons of English has to happen in 1 week, those 6 lessons are prescribed in the curriculum. So the experience must be 6 lessons. And when NEC calculates how to set a test, we check how many hours were supposed to be on this topic and how many marks should we give this topic. The weight should be there. According to the hours allocated in the curriculum, so will be the questions allocated in the question paper. So if you steal the hours, you are denying the student the opportunity to score on the questions that will come out of that section that you stole the hours from. Because you'll be in a hurry to finish the curriculum. And the design will just flip its pages. It has no way of reporting you, but the students have a way of reporting. As a head of institution, you have a responsibility granted by the Teacher Service Commission to make sure that the implementation of class instruction or the planning of instruction in that institution is well organized with information that will help you to monitor. And we have tools that can help you to monitor that. That's not our part, but it contributes to the learning outcomes. So when we are measuring, we give a questionnaire to the teacher, we give a questionnaire to the student. We ask the same question in different ways. Does the teacher miss any lessons? The student will say, yes. The teacher, do you miss any lessons? The teacher will say, so when we monitor performance, we must make sure that we are monitoring the time taken on assessment and learning. We have to expose our learners to as many real-life experiences as possible. Interpreting learning outcomes is not fictional science. We have 4 scales only that we commonly use up to grade 9. Let me say up to grade, because 9 is going to be a little bit more than 4. Up to grade 6. These 4, they just are a guiding to where the ability of the learner is and where we can pick up to nurture that potential. They are not places that we should doom our learners to being throughout. Don't make them despair because they are below expectation. Give them hope so that they can know now, when they measure my knowledge, skills, and attitudes, I am at below expectation. But if I read that statement of below expectation, they have said, I can do this, I can do this, I need support in this, I need support in this. So therefore, I'm going to work on areas I need support so as to move from below expectation to approaching expectation. Let it be a journey, a pilgrim of hope. From below expectation to approaching expectation with hope. Let's work on the areas that you're having difficulty in, to meeting expectation, and eventually to exceeding expectation, and to be nurtured in the potential that you have shown. It's a pilgrim. Journey with that learner. Walk with the teachers. Help them as they struggle so that they can expose the learners to real-life experiences and interpret the learning outcomes in ways that communicate to the learner, communicate to the parent. That way, when we come to telling the parent, this pathway is good for your child, the parent is not arguing because he's seen it. Vile mtoto amesonga from one level to another level and to another level. So when we assess, always remember to tell the students that there will be points where the teacher is the one doing the assessment formatively, NEC is doing it through school-based assessments, and also for certification purposes like it will be in grade 9. I am happy that we have these windows of opportunity. I lost one screen. Is there anyone suffering because we lost the screen? Okay. Nobody suffers. So now, these stages should not be anxiety moments. Someone said that how do you not release the third way of releasing CaPEIA, the way we used to release other exams? The third way is a national report that we give to stakeholders. If you need any of these national reports, I can be able to give them to you on a link so that you access CaPEIA 2022, CaPEIA 2023, and you are aware of the things 2024, the things we are talking about, so that the teachers also can have this information. We do this without any ceremony because we must reduce the stakes that have been heightened by the other education system. We are not exam-oriented anymore. We are more about giving you feedback that informs the student, individual learner report, the school and the teachers and the school community, school-specific reports, and the national report that informs the stakeholders on what it is that they will need to be doing. So these windows of opportunity we have will help us to say CBC is good or CBC is bad. But without going through all these assessments, we are prematurely judging an egg that has not hatched. And we would beg for your indulgence in walking in this journey in ways that can help us to understand really how to do it. You understand, I will use only one of these slides to explain something, to give you more time to reflect and ask questions. Now, you all know from grade 1 up to CaPEIA, that's the part that I have been explaining. We do have an age-based curriculum, meaning the age really matters when you join the education system. The content that has been prescribed is based on theories that are developmental theories that show at this age you should just be playing. PP1, PP2, and Catholic institutions, we have a lot of play groups and PP1, PP2 classes in our compounds. True. Nobody should walk into that class and say 1 + 1 is, no, please. It is time to play and interact. The child just needs social skills. How to share, how to say thank you, how to say please, may I go out, how to eat and wipe your mouth, how to dress the left leg and left. Play, socialize and learn through play. If I find you're giving homework at grade PP1 and PP2, I will ask you, who bewitched you? And you will ask me, who? Me, a foolish Galatian. Something like that. So make sure that you do the correct thing at the right age. That's why it's age-based. But the learners can show some difficulties, which you can recommend into special needs attention. If they get that they are doing well, they can still come back into the normal classroom. You can still receive special needs children into your class because there's an interchange within those arrows. So I'll only use this to explain so that we don't use the one that is above where we could be that could drive us into confusion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to skip this because they would be somehow higher and it will be harder for us to engage. But in a different forum, I can be able to use that. Different tools I used under CBC. We have only used few for now, up to grade 6 or up to grade 9. That doesn't mean those are the only tools that will ever be used. We will still keep expanding as the grades go higher and higher. So we make sure that our students are exposed to as many tools as is the correct tool to measure what you want and is serving the purpose of what you want so that we do not misinform on purpose and make the child to be confused. So the purpose should drive the kind of tool that you choose to do that. But keeping of a portfolio is very important. Some trades, like now if a child has to be employed, they must show their speaking skills. And they can only do it if they record themselves when they are speaking and they file it and they can be able to share later as their strength. So make sure you expose the learners to as much as possible. The transition to junior school, from junior to senior school, I've talked about it very much, and you can know the role that you will be playing. That even as the students transit from one section of the school to another, the teachers need to meet and transfer information. Let me use a hospital. From a level 2 hospital, level 5, which one is higher? If you're referred to a higher hospital than where you are, a dispensary, a hospital, a referral hospital, does that doctor give you a note to tell the other doctor, I have already done this, I've already done this, kindly investigate this? Does the doctor do that? Who bewitched us as teachers? That we cannot write something and say, I've taught this class this, this, and this, and you need to be continuing at this point. So that the talent is nurtured, the potential of the learner is nurtured. So that this teacher in grade 7 does not start afresh to discover the talents and potential of this child, but is building on what you've already done for 6 years. Let's enhance that cohesion so that the nurturing of the potential of the child is a key thing that is informing how that transition is happening. Now, if you give me time, I'll only talk about the pathways for purposes of those who want to understand that. In STEM, as they will be doing the pathway selection, we hope that 60% of the students will go into STEM, the social sciences 25%, and the arts and sports will have the 15%. Now 15% might look like a small number, but Kenya is an athletic country. Kenya plays very many sports. Rugby. Kenya has more football fans than football players. There are some here who are dozing because you didn't sleep well. You are cheering which team? Pilgrims of Hope, how are you? You are cheering which team? Good. Is there a Kenyan or national team? Which one? Ah, I like that. So please, let's make sure that we nurture the potential that the students have, because we do have a very good chance that we can give them an opportunity in the future with the sports, with the arts, with the sciences. I invite some of you who might be interested. to a symposium that we will be having by the Kenya National Exams Council, just to showcase some of the arts done by children in a nearby slum school. Utainulia Mungu mikono afresh at what God can plant in a child's mind. Not polluted by staying at night watching Arsenal, purely a child's mind. And how they can reproduce it on paper as art. Every time, and we are about to do the way of the cross. Have we done it? Easter. Simuko nayo? Every time you go at each stop point, look at that art. Look at what? The art that is giving us the image of God to relive a life of hope as a pilgrim of hope. Look around yourself as you do the Easter break at the goodness of God in the heads of people who have created things beyond what we could have imagined. And ask God every day to give you hope that you can be able to share with others. It's very hard to share what you don't have. Be hopeful. Be joyful. Wengine hata since I came here and started talking, huja smile. I can see you now, you are trying to smile so that I count you as part of those who have smiled. Be hopeful. Be enthusiastic to be alive. Be a beacon of hope in that institution that you're in. I know you're worried and thinking, how much more do we have to cover? I've already talked about that, but I want to conclude. I've given you enough time to read that, and those who are taking a picture or two. Actually, assessment drives instruction and must be carefully be planned, implemented, and the learning outcomes meaningfully reported. Let's see our role there. Who plans? Competency-based curriculum. Under CBE, there's competency-based curriculum, there's the competency-based learning, and there's the competency-based assessment. Who reports? The first person that knows the performance of their students on SBA is the teacher. The students themselves do know. Akiandika swali akijibu, sometimes they know they have failed, sometimes they don't know. But the teacher, anaangalia hizo SBA scores, and anajua kuna shida. And NEC is very good. It gives you a grid on top of the question paper that tells you, task 1 was testing geometry. The student has scored this mark out of a possible this mark. Task 2 is on measurement. The student has scored this mark out of a possible total of this mark. Wewe mwenyewe kama mwalimu unaweza jionea where the learning gap is to help nurture this learner's potential. I hope it is not in vain that we have gathered here. But we have gathered so that we can be able to understand our role and take it as a journey, infuse it with hope and joy, and deliver on the Jubilee expectations. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Let us stand up. We give a standing ovation. Let us stand up. Get upstanding. Now we'll do the German claps. I know there is a person designated for vote of thanks, but really what I was digesting, I think we need a standing ovation and the German claps, continuous claps, then we sit down. Just continuous claps. Continuous claps. Haya, tukae. Madam Effa, I know Brother Aguilo is smiling because of what he will say in the evening with the executives and the organizing team. There was nobody else who would fit in these shoes. And please, Madam Effa, go and give these appreciations to Mr. David Njegere, MBS, your CEO, NEC. There could never have been anybody else to fit in these shoes. Makofi tena. So we have been promised that there'll be a time of questioning, comments about this topic, and we have ample time because up to around 5 minutes to 1, we have some, how many minutes? 15 minutes. And I think those will suffice in an interaction. My guest, whom I'm moderating today, said she would give around 15 minutes because it is interactive. This topic is the elephant in the room, so she has given us ample time. So the microphones, please. If you have any comment, I see there are some which have been put down already. Sister, Asante, pass it on. So if you have written your question, this is the time to present it. Then I know our choir crew have already the microphones in their hands. You stand up, give us the institution you are manning or womaning. Then if you've written it, also pass it on. Karibuni sana, karibuni. Karibuni. Okay, I'm seeing a hand. Karibu.
Thank you. I'm Kea Dominic, head teacher St. Angela in Webuye, Catholic Diocese of Bungoma. Maybe just a clarification from our guest, maybe to let us understand why in senior school, religious education was not considered as a compulsory learning area. And we understand in CPC, we are emphasizing about the values which are taught in religious education. Then another issue, when she was emphasizing about the outcome for CaPEIA, she said that we have three areas where CaPEIA is reported. One is about individual learners' reports. Then number 2, school-specific reporting. She did not mention the third one. Thank you.
I'm hearing some whispers that it was mentioned. Maybe it will be emphasized. Next, please. A hand up. Okay, we have Mheshimiwa here.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Chidaili Migambo, head teacher across the King Kilgoris, Ngong Diocese. I have 2 concerns and 1 question. One, I want to maybe say that I'm grateful for the session that we have just had, and I want to request that maybe if we can get, you can share the soft copy of what as we have just discussed with our diocesan education secretaries, so that they can share in our walls. That is 1. 2, I have some 2 learners. It may sound personal, but you'll just have to excuse me. I have 2 learners in grade 6, that is the CaPEIA candidates. These learners, I admitted them in my school this year from other schools. But after the registration for CaPEIA, I've realized that 2 of them have gaps, as SBA gaps for grade 4. Now, how can I help these learners to maybe fill in these gaps? And then lastly, we have been presenting learners for CaPEIA. Like in November, we'll present learners for CaPEIA, KLJ, and even some of our schools will present learners for KCSE. We realized that during that time, some teachers are being given the opportunity to invigilate. In some areas, like maybe where I come, the curriculum support officers, they don't want to give our teachers time to invigilate. And I believe these our teachers are equally qualified, just like other teachers who are in TSC. Now, how can you help us so that even our teachers who have been preparing these learners, how can they get also time to maybe invigilate just like other teachers from public schools? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next.
My name is Father Moise or Moses from Immaculate Catholic School, Miango Utawala, here in Nairobi. My question is about the values we are supposed to give to the learners in our schools. I'm a school director there. When we look at our schools, normally we have masses during the week, at least once. And also, especially during this Lenten season, we introduce the way of the cross maybe in the schools. And during your presentation, you said we should not steal the time of a learner. Are we stealing the time of a learner in that context?
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Chamegere from Bungoma Diocese, Christ the King. Our presenter, you talked about 3 ways of reporting. The first one and second one, we have no problem. I would like to know more about this, the third one, the national report. When is it done and how do we get it? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a hand again. Brother, welcome.
Brother Francis, Catholic Diocese of Nakuru. I have 2 issues. The first is registration of special children with special needs. For children to be registered in any category, they have to be assessed and then categorized accordingly for appropriate assessment. Recently, I saw in our diocese one of our schools which had to do a lot of travel all the way from the far end to Kise, then from Kise go to KNH for medical report, and so forth. I'm trying to imagine it's Nakuru here, and I'm trying to think of those far-flung areas. How can we make it more accessible? Secondly, we just came out of the county dialogue on transitions, and the core thing that came out was on grading. We have been told that eventually the summative test will have 60%. There is school-based assessment, there is the CaPEIA, and then there will be that 60%. Now, that 60%, which is going to come from NEC at the end of it, how sure are we that it is not going to water down again the gains that we are trying to think that we have gained now because of bringing again competitions or so forth? Because 60 can be 100% in some areas. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Then you'll advise us because we have so many already at table.
Maybe
So maybe we take 2 more.
All right.
Karibu.
Thank you so much. My name is Wycliffe Osedo from St. John Eudes, Waridi School, Westlands. I have this question for our guest here. Why does NEC
have two separate portals. For grade 9, I noted this when we were doing CaPEIA registration, the CBA portal and the CBASA portal. Now, whereas grade 6 learners are only managed through the CBA portal. What is the rationale behind this difference in portal management? Thank you.
Okay, we take one more
Okay,
so that
thank
we
you
give
very
ample
much.
time to our presenter. Karibu,
Thank you
sister.
very much. Yes, I am already standing. My name is Sister Benedicta Marriott Eke. I am coming from Eldoret Diocese. I have only two questions. Allow me to draw the first one from the previous presentation in SNE. And you touched it again, Doctor, by saying that our learners learn in different ways. One is observation. Now, I have a concern because I have learners who are having different impairments. One is an autist. And from all indication, interacting in an regular environment, we can observe that this learner is growing. And from observation, there is a growth, changes from what he used to be. But after regular assessment, this learner will just end in below expectation. Only because the teachers will grade the assessment just like other ones who are supposed to be in regular environment. So my concern is there a way by which we could be able to grade these learners based on the efforts they are making and even our observation from the changes they are going through? That is one. The second one is this. I was very happy when I heard you saying that Kenya is one of the countries that is still very interested in the values we derive from learning. And these values is from the fact that we still have CRE in our subjects we are choosing. And now, from the retooling we are having these days, we are being told that in senior school, CRE is no longer a compulsory subject, just like the other 7 subjects that were stipulated. So kindly, can you tell us more on this? Thank you.
Thank you, sister. So we have one burning one from sister. Then after that, we allow our presenter to do the response.
Thank you. My name is Sister Margaret. I head a school called Teresa Nuzo School in Ruiru. And my question touches on what Sister has raised, but a little bit different. Usually when we have learners who have learning difficulties, we send them to KISE for assessment, and then KISE places them. And we have quite a number of them placed in regular schools, and that's why I think we were talking about inclusivity in the morning. But now the challenge comes when we have the assessments, because when the learners are placed in the regular schools and in the regular pathway, the age-based pathway, we have them assessed like the others. But then they have challenges where a learner knows the answers to questions, but they need somebody to read for them. Other learners need a little bit of more time to be able to complete the assessment. Other learners need somebody to assist them to interpret the questions. And then in most of the circumstances, it is not allowed during the assessments, especially the national the summative ones. So we ask ourselves whether we are not limiting those learners in a way, because they know, but they are not able to reproduce that knowledge because of the limitations that they have. Thank you.
Thank you. So we stop at that, then we get the response. And this tells us that this session has been very, very good. When learners ask questions, inamaanisha wamepata kitu, eh? Karibu, madam, and clap for yourselves for those beautiful questions.
I'll start with the one who was wondering why NEC has 2 portals. I'll start by introducing to you another one. Because maybe the questions, some of them will be answered by a navigation of one of the portals. Okay? We are many schools. We are many users. In some schools, the exam teacher simply logs on to the NEC website and starts beating stories. Logged in, clogging the system, and not functionally using the system. So we are not at a level where we are disciplined enough. And then the blame comes and says, this thing of NEC is not working. So we have different servers for different purposes to speed up the response with which you get when you get to access the services of our portals. Some have confidential information that we cannot put where someone can easily hack. So we will have many. Just remember to write them on a piece of paper and post them somewhere so that you visit at least once. Now, to the questions. There's one question, I could go according to how you came in, which would be helpful. So, Kea Dominic Pungoma, you wanted to understand why CRE is not compulsory. So, I will answer that last. The outcomes of CaPEIA, I explained that there is individual learner report, there is school-specific report, and there is the national report to stakeholders. So that is the third one. I saw your colleagues acknowledging that we had actually shared it. But to access the national report, you can go to our website, www.nac, National Assessment Center, nac.nec.ac.ke. If you go there, you will meet this. And when you're there, you click on resources, hoping that it will not give you anything that you don't want. Under resources, you'll see this orange band. It will give you all the studies Kenya does to compare its education system with other education systems. It will also give you CaPEIA, or grade 6. Let me just scroll up to down. Grade 6, CaPEIA. If you click on CaPEIA grade 6, it will give you the 2022, the 2023, which have already been uploaded. 2024 will be released after the annual symposium that we are just about to have this month. So anybody who had asked me about 2024 also, in your write-up, it will be released after we have done our symposium end of this month. So if you download, it's easier for you to download. When you download, you'll be able to interact and see the policy issues that are around CaPEIA. So that's okay? So I've answered several people using that. Migambo, Kilgoris, you want to get a soft copy of this. It's already been provided to the Secretariat. I just needed the confirmation that it will be shared. Okay. So they have confirmed that they will be able to share it. I already gave it even before I came on stage. Then you have 2 gaps in SBA. You have inherited the students from a school. Let us pray that those schools were keeping records the way I have just talked about. You can see already the need is real. At grade 4, grade 5, do they do or they never did at all? And if it's only 2, it means they presented themselves at some point. Are the schools where they came from able to provide? If not, there's no way you can be able to help them or we can be able to help them. So that becomes a big challenge. But I know what you mean and how you feel about that. So maybe we need to collect all the details of such cases, and then a policy direction can be given. Let's see the rampancy with which we see such cases. Then you have talked about recently not being given an opportunity to invigilate. Are the teachers having TSC numbers? Okay, so that I'll have to consult back and find out why they are not being included, especially for the way in which you have put it. And we appreciate the fact that Nairobi, Moise talked about some of the activities you do from a Christian perspective, and are they taking time away from the student? I believe we are Christians for a purpose. And the purpose has to be reminded to us. And some of the Christian activities we do actually are necessary. The unnecessary ones that I talked about were, why would you stop a whole school program to have a funeral of someone's dead body? I mean, I know the dead bury the dead, but I think we should not steal more of that time in a bad way. But I will not stop the students from the Catholic schools from attending a very key aspect on the foundation on which we stand. I went to all those ways of the cross as much as I was not Catholic, but it leaves an impression in a child's life. My last born is 22 years old, and she tells me, Mom, I don't go to church every day, but the things you taught me in Sunday school ndio zinaniskuma tu. So you really can't run away from what you can impact in a student through a structured way. Mnaelewa? We get to have these students between their grade 3, grade 4, like when I joined, up to when I left university, which would have been 23, 24. So the better if we can use that opportunity to infuse the values. And some of them come with endurance. The way of the cross needs quite a lot of endurance. Tolerance, perseverance, focus to purpose. For a purpose, of course. So I think those can only be practically impacted in the students. Christ the King, CaPEIA-K, you wanted the CaPEIA. I think I've already answered your part. Should you have issues, I can download, forward. I can give you a WhatsApp version so that it can go onto your wall, if you can. Brother Francis from Nakuru, the registration of students for assessment purposes. It demands that we have functional assessment so as to have assessment for Kenya National Examinations Council. I believe the National Council for Persons with Disabilities is solving that problem, in the sense that they have a calendar that shows this day, this month, we will be in a certain region. Please bring the persons with disabilities to this place for purposes of assessment and certification. So they don't need to do those long trips. You just consult with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities on the next calendar on when they'll be able to bring the services nearest to the people. So we are so sorry that that seems to be going on in Nakuru region. The county dialogues, you have appreciated that they have just happened. Your worry is real, that 60% would want to bring the stakes higher than what we want. That was the initial. If you read through what NEC had proposed initially, we wanted the bulk of the assessment to be with the teacher who knows the student, and we take in the smallest portion. But the Presidential Working Party on Education said, we are beginning. Things can change in percentages. But from the beginning, teachers need to know, how do you set us an assessment? How do you score it? How do you equally grade? That's why we gave SBA the entire nation. We give up to the marking scheme, the entire nation, so that things are done in a uniform way for comparability. The only person that can bring in interference is the teacher. So that calibration that comes with a standard tool is what we are hoping can be used to inform that aspect of choosing the purpose for which the assessment is meant for, grading to the next level. So 60% might look like a big cut of the cake, but I'm beginning to think that even it won't take more than 5 or 6 years, and we will return back to the correct percentage the way we wanted. Is that okay? It's okay, thank you. And then we have the officer from Westlands. I've already answered why we have 2 portals. Sister Benedict from Eldoret, below expectations, and there's this learner, and they are not actually below expectation. According to you, they could be above expectation, but approaching expectation or meeting expectation, but when they are assessed by the teacher, according to the rubrics we give, it's below expectation. There are 2 things. One, there could be adaptations that are required for purposes of the teacher, making sure that the rubric as is applied is not punitive to the student. There are assessment accommodations that we do, which if I had been given a good question like yours before I prepared, I would have embedded it in my presentation. So I'm sorry, I fall short of your glory just because I didn't talk about it. But there's a way in which accommodations can be made, the flexibility principle can be met, so as to make sure that we nurture whatever potential we see in that child. We had sister also who was talking about the functional assessment and the learner being read questions too. It's also married to the type of assessment adaptations and modifications that we do. If a learner, we do an assessment and we know that this learner would require such, NEC during KCPE has been sending officers to sit with that learner for the 3 days and read those questions, the way Sanoi was explaining, so that it is not coming from a point of a familiar person saying, unakumbuka vile tulifunza wa class? Tulikufunza aje? You ask it in a neutral way. So we intervene, we give help, but we don't allow the teacher who taught the learner to be the one reading the question. We allow someone else to be the one, so as to be neutral and allow the student to give the response without being pressured by how they learned or being marked as you are reading the question, since you're the teacher and you're seeing the student is choosing the wrong answer. Hiyo pressure, tunataka tutoe kwa mwanafunzi, tunampatia a neutral person, and they write. There are cases, you remember the case where we had the students who got an accident and all their hands were cut off? Muna remember your case in Kenya? I'll never forget what I saw. We tried to tell the school and the parents, let these children not sit for this exam now. They are not in the right frame of mind or right frame of physique to do this. But Kenya, we are very hostile to our own children. The law, the lawyers, they brought lawyers and we were told, NEC, you must give this exam to these children. So you can imagine being read to, and you give your response, and someone is scribing for you because you just lost your hand and you're in hospital. And that's why NEC is saying, can we delay that assessment so that the child is in the correct physical form, correct physical state to do that exam? It calls for the clear presentation of candidates. Let's do it when they are ready and when they are able. I want to have a special request that you allow each question not answered, but written on a piece of paper. We, sister and I, shall undertake to do a report, and that report will be forwarded to your leadership, so that we respond, and as we respond, it is posted onto your wall. Do I have your grace? Do you believe I can answer those questions? Do you believe that it can save time if we did it that way? Thank you so much for the trust. Sister and I will embark on it tomorrow and we shall share. Oh, was there? Oh, CRE. CRE was the last one, eh? NEC examines what is given by KICD. I believe it's a matter that we can engage further. By engaging further, I mean you are a strong body that exists for a purpose. And let me tell you something that you don't know about curriculum development. They listen. While I was in St. Angela School for the Deaf, there was a change that was made by NEC, by the curriculum, KICD, and then NEC made a sample paper based on that curriculum. And it meant that whether the deaf children enter the exam room for English paper 101/1 or not, they were all going to fail because of the way in which they had changed the curriculum, and then NEC had picked things and set according to that curriculum. So in my stupidity, I wrote a letter. The sister, who was my head of institution, forwarded it to the PS. The PS got it, forwarded to KICD and NEC, and told them, investigate this. After a few minutes, no, days, those days it was post office. See, email kama sai. After a few weeks, sister was called and was told, can you come to Nairobi to explain the contents of your letter? Sister came and was very annoyed with me. And she said, Efa wewe ndio ulianzisha hii story. Enda Nairobi uwaeleze ni nini mbaya kwa hii story. Sisi hatukubaliwi kufanya vitu za koti. So I told her, sister, it's not even something that will take you to court. And then she said, okay, go. So she sent me, and I came. And for that first time, I sat in the Ministry of Education's offices with a panel of professors and doctors. I was a classroom teacher. And I told them, word by word, what is wrong with this process. And from there, a corrigenda was made, and an adaptation of the curriculum was made. One school created a change. You are many. I will leave it at that.
Makofi tena. So, asante sana, madam. Now we are winding up for this session. I've a temptation of giving 30 seconds to Sister Helen Kamau, Little Sisters of St. Francis, who does research and quality assurance at NEC, to just greet us. Just a greeting. Karibu dada.
God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good, and that is nature.
Yeah, I will not speak much because it's almost lunch hour. And most of us are feeling hungry. Is it hungry or hungry? Hungry, or both. Okay. Now, my name is Sister Helen Kamau. I'm a Little Sisters of St. Francis. Currently, I'm working at Kenya National Examination Council as a research and quality assurance officer. So I onboarded in NEC late last year, and I want to assure you that I have learned a lot, and I think I've been ignorant of so many things. So my request for you all is that let's embrace the competence-based assessments. Let's also engage in stakeholders partnership. Whenever you are called upon, it's always good to show up so that you learn what is happening. Another thing I can also say, with permission from Madam Efa, is that most of us have been having outsourced. We buy commercial exams. Is it exams or assessment right now?
Assessment.
Yeah, we are buying commercial assessment. It's not a very good practice because all of us have been trained as teachers. and all of us can be able to capacity build our teachers so that they'll be able to make some assessment in our school. My request to you, is it possible we are able to collaborate and to be able to come up with a community of practice where we are having among us as teachers, as head of institution, coming up with some assessment for our school, so that whenever we are assessing our learners, we are not assessing them from nowhere. It's also good to learn those practices so that whenever we are assessing the learners, we are not buying those exams. What will have happened to NEC if they were buying exams for your schools? You will be seeing them all over, even in the street. But because they take that task in a very serious way to come up with test items, that's why we are able to have the credible exam. So it's also good that when you're in your schools, try to encourage your teachers to remain behind, maybe like 1 week or so after the schools are closed. Let them take the task of coming up with test item. Finally, I will also encourage you to learn more about NEC. It has so many things. What we have discussed today is just something that is very small. Let's engage them so that we learn more about the competence-based assessment. Otherwise, I wish you all the best as you go back to your workplaces. Thank you.
Thank you. A big hand for sister. Bonanes, our chair, all protocols observed. Kikuyus have a saying, because we are in Nairobi, weka wega, newe weka weka, oru newe weka. Ile kitu unafanya, unajifanyia, we created them. And really they've delivered. Na ni kwa benefits zetu sisi wenye. So asanteni sana. Now I observe the protocol of, first of all, vote of thanks from Reverend Dr. Father Tobias Omwanda, Education Secretary, Homa Bay Diocese. Tumpatie makofi mpaka afike. Then please, Mr. Mboya, Principal Christ the King, be ready at the podium. Hukumbele, Christ the King Secondary, Ngong. Utatupatiana zawadi kwa wageni. Karibu sana, Father. Daktari huyu, kofi moja tena.
Standing on the established protocol, I have the single honor to move a vote of thanks in regard to the presentation of Madam Eifa Ngota. And obviously, based on the rubrics of shared sense, it is evident that you exceeded the expectation. Makofi. And we give glory to God for allowing us, the church, in our mission in schools, to nurture you so well, so that your presentation took the character of a very detailed, clear, and well-broken statements, very easy to absorb. We also give glory to God in appreciating you because you are able to anchor this presentation of the new trend in education in a manner that you are almost immersed in our Catholic patrimony of faith and the educational formation. And the good surprise, my dear sister, that can also bless you is that in your very person and the presentation, the content, you're able to integrate the theme of a conference so well. Interestingly, breathing in one breath with Pope Francis, that hope doesn't disappoint, as per the bull for the Jubilee Year of Hope. This has blessed us so much, and we pray that it blesses you all the way as you keep serving God in the education. Remember the Catholic Church as your mother always, and how happy we are that on behalf of this gathering is that we shall not steal any thermometer, because it is not necessary, it is dangerous, and it may not give us the hopeful outcomes that we want to achieve. God bless you, and I want to stop at that. Makofi.
So we've been told that we encourage SNE actors. So, makofi yetu ni hayo. Okay, Mr. Mboya, I saw you. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
So, all protocols observed, we would actually wish to award our speakers of today. So, Madam Karibu Sana. Let's actually continue appreciating. That is not enough. Let's actually give a digital clap. Let us actually give a digital clap. That is a demonstration, then tunampatia. Ya kwanza. Was.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hatuna msemo unasema mwegemea nundu anaondoka na mafuta, eh? So because amekuja na sister, again you do it to sister. Okay, so I want to thank you all for staying with us in this session in our flight with Madam. Now I'm handing over to our ordinary MC of the day, Sister Grace. Asanteni, yani mmekuwa wazuri. Jipigieni makofi.
Thank you. We have taken quite a while, far beyond the program, but it is going to be adjusted, I believe. We beg for pardon and your patience. I have a number of announcements which have come from you, and so kindly listen to them. One, we continue urging all the members, please, please make sure you have signed your attendance. We need the real signatures of the numbers of the people who are in this auditorium today. As I had said in the morning announcement from the chaplaincy department, that today and tomorrow from 2, confessions continue in the 2 upper rooms above the main entrance. Then when you look at our programs, tomorrow the timetable is a little bit different. We are going to have a visit to Gravity CBC Center, which is supposed to be immediately after lunch. And because of that, you can see that we shall have Mass at 12:30. 12:30. And then from there, we'll take our lunch a little bit later, that is around 1:30. And we shall take lunch hurriedly so that we get off to the CBC, Gravity CBC
Center. These announcements go to the delegates from your education secretaries. Bungoma Diocese delegates to meet briefly right at the main entrance before lunch. Nairobi Archdiocese delegates to collect some gifts from your education secretary. You'll meet Stella at the secretariat, and you'll also meet Kezia in room 6, LRC, next to the secretariat. That is at the basement immediately after this session. That is before lunch. Delegates from Malindi, after lunch, you meet right inside this auditorium, and you find your education secretary here. All the delegates from Metropolitan of Kisumu, that is Kisumu itself, Kakamega, Bungoma, Lodwar, Eldoret, Kisii, Homa Bay, and Kitale, to meet immediately after lunch in the auditorium. Your chairperson has a special communication. Make sure that you have your meal card, and as you go to serve, we shall have some people guiding us at the serving points. We have delegates from Metropolitan of Mombasa. Make sure that you have given out your meal card to the people standing at the serving points. Sister Catherine Jagi from Malindi will be standing at the serving point for the special diet delegates. Then we'll have others like Sister Presidis, we'll have Mr. Francis Mwachilungo, Sister Sylvia Musembi from Garissa, Madam Frida from Mombasa, Mr. David from Mombasa, Madam Mary from Mombasa, Sister Ruth from Mombasa, Mr. Michael Simiu from Malindi, and Madam Feli from Mombasa. They are positioned at strategic serving points. This is all for the purposes of order, and so let us serve from the established points. For the delegates with special diet needs, kindly serve from inside the cafeteria. That is the lower cafeteria. You find Sister Catherine there. Then the education secretaries, our NES, the NEC, CaPEIA officials, the REAS, and our guests, we serve from the upper cafeteria. We shall be guided. And the rest of us, kindly let's serve from the lower, from the serving points outside the lower cafeteria. Let's maintain order so that we can save time. Our session is supposed to start at 2 p.m. We do not have a sponsors session this time around, and so we need to eat very fast so that we can be here at 2. I guess our presenter will be around by then, if he or she keeps time like our NEC presenters have done. Otherwise, thank you so much for your patience and for your cooperation. I'm inviting Father Anton Koikai kindly to give us the grace before meals.
Sorry, sister. We have Kilatin tungesema presentatio habem. The presentation, we have the presentation, Halafu pia iko pia kwa soft copy. Thomas will just give you in your portals. Presentatio habem.
May we stand? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, bless us, O Lord, and this your gift you are about to receive through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you. As we walk out for lunch, I guess you can hear me when you are walking. Mombasa Metropolitan, you're the one in charge of the liturgy today. Members, we are requesting that we hold on until we finish our sessions, with the climax being the celebration of the Eucharist. So please, after the sessions, we urge all of us to remain for Mass. We need those blessings as we continue with our sessions.